Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Monday, 5 May. Sorry for the late start. It's a public holiday here in the UK, so I had a bit of a sleep in. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we're going to be covering the hard right George Simion has won the first round of Romanian presidential elections. Zelenskyy has said that the ceasefire in Ukraine is possible the moment Russia agrees to it. And the US has criticised Germany for labelling the AfD extremists. So firstly, Romania's hard-right populist leader on Sunday secured more votes than his challengers, winning the first round of the presidential election. That is a rerun of the original vote from last year. Official electoral data showed George Simion winning 40.5% of the vote. He'll face off against pro-EU Bucharest Mayor Nixor Dan on the May 18th runoff, who received 20.9% of the share. The original vote last year was cancelled because of widespread concern over Russian interference in favour of another far-right candidate, Silian Georgescu, who had been placed under investigation and was then disbarred from running for office. Simion says he was aligned with the US President Donald Trump's Make America Great movement and appears to be riding a similar wave of popular anger in the European Union and NATO member countries. So what? Simion follows pretty similar ideas to Georgescu, who was also pretty critical of the EU and NATO. So it's pretty interesting and kind of goes against what a lot of critics of Romania said, that the reason Georgescu was banned was due to his anti-EU and anti-NATO ideas, as clearly this guy's also of a similar idea. However, we now haven't seen Russian hybrid warfare being conducted, well, probably still conducted, but to a lesser degree in this current election. It's quite interesting to see. It seems likely that this far-right candidate will win, which kind of follows a similar trend across numerous other countries, have been voting in far more right-leaning parties due to perceived issues with immigration and higher inflation rates. Though it is still possible he may lose to the Bucharest mayor, it seems unlikely, as generally left-leaning more pro-EU people have support in the cities, such as in Bucharest, as we see by him being the mayor. But then in the outer regions and the towns and villages of countries, you have more right-leaning parties. So, yeah, I think it seems likely that George Simion will win. Probably check Polymarket to see how it goes over the next few weeks, up until the 18th. And next, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has said at a joint news conference that a ceasefire with Moscow is possible at any moment. Ukraine accepted the 30-day ceasefire proposed by the United States in March, following peace talks between the US and Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia. However, Russia is yet to accept the offer, and the country's leader, Vladimir Putin, declared a 3-day ceasefire over May 8th to 10th to mark the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Soviet Union and allies over Nazi Germany. Zelenskyy rejected this offer, denouncing it as a theatrical show, since 3 days offered no time for talks to end the more than 3-year-long war. So what? As I kind of covered in my YouTube video that I published yesterday, go check it out and subscribe to that Intel guy. It seems like Putin is just playing for time. This 3-day ceasefire that is mentioned in this article seems highly likely to just be for protection for his May Day parade, which Ukraine and Zelenskyy has made threats against, which is pretty interesting. And if they do conduct a successful attack on the parade, it will be extremely damaging to the Russian image, internally specifically. Right, not really externally, as their image externally is already pretty damaged. Stop. It is highly likely that Russia's 3-day ceasefire over the May Day parade is an attempt to get protection for his parade from any kind of Ukrainian attacks, most likely drone attacks, as any successful attack on this parade or even around this parade on Moscow will be pretty damaging to Russia's image. It still seems highly unlikely that Russia and Putin himself aren't looking for peace in Ukraine. They just want to subdue Trump and make sure he doesn't take any further steps against them while continuing their conflict. And lastly, top-ranking officials from the US President Donald Trump's administration were quick to criticize Germany's domestic intelligence agency, the BFV, on Friday for designating the AfD as a far-right extremist entity. The agency said that the party's position on ethnicity were incompatible with democracy, noting that the AfD aims to exclude certain population groups from equal participation in society. It also highlighted the party's use of hateful rhetoric and incitement to undermine democratic institutions. The intelligence agency had previously designated several local AfD branches as far-right extremist groups, but it now said that it decided to give the entire party this label due to its attempts to undermine free democratic order within the country. The AfD slammed the decision as politically motivated. It has also drawn sharp criticism from across the Atlantic, with Trump administration officials slamming the move. US Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday accused Germany of trying to rebuild a Berlin Wall. In February, Vance met with AfD leader Alice Weidel in Munich after delivering a contentious speech at the Munich Security Conference, in which he accused European nations of failing to defend free speech, calling out Germany in particular. Vance complained that the AfD was being ostracized and called for that to end. The US Vice President's statements angered officials in Berlin. So what? While I do think calling an entire political party a right-wing extremist entity is pretty extreme and kind of hostile in a democratic country, as you can't really stop a political party from running, they need to, in my opinion, the best move would to be publish an unclassified intelligence report laying out exactly what led to this decision and the information that they have to explain this, both probably in German and in English, so that other foreign critics can read the report and better understand it. This open transparency with decisions such as this is likely the only way to kind of limit these groups using the decisions as tools to discredit the government. It was quite comical to see that Germany's intelligence agency replied to some US politicians on X explaining their thinking. But yeah, they need to, in my opinion, be a bit more transparent with the information that led to this decision being made and kind of put it out there online. Thank you for listening to that Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you.